Today I'm joined by Gill Monk. Gill is the founder and managing director of All Health Matters, an employee-owned occupational health provider looking after the health of over 30,000 employees from over 400 businesses across the UK. So welcome, Gill.
Thank you very much for inviting me along.
That's okay. Thank you for joining us, Gill. So look, tell us a little bit more about what All Health Matters does and who you are.
Yes, All Health Matters is concerned with occupational medicine. So we're a medical practice, but not as you know it. We are not a GP. We do not diagnose. We don't treat. Our doctors and nurses are all qualified doctors and nurses, and they have chosen the route of occupational medicine rather than orthopedics or other disciplines. And they are concerned with the health of the working person. So it's the health of employees. We're interested in and concerned with the effects of work on health and health on work. So, for instance, people who are in potentially health risk areas, such as construction, where they're exposed to noise and dust and cement, or chemical workers who are obviously got a lot of biological exposures, or even people in the food manufacturing or production business, because it is essential, of course, that they are well and they are fit and they are healthy enough to handle food that you and I are going to eat later. So all of those things, anybody that works for a living, companies who have a good occupational health strategy will look to people like us to help support them in that, including sickness absence, which of course is a big problem for companies, especially those smaller companies who don't have huge teams that they can call on to fill gaps. Those companies that perhaps only have 40, 50, 100, 200 people, if they have someone who's constantly off sick or who constantly can't do this and that because of this and that, then they can seek help from us, because we have got more time to spend with that person than the GP has. And we actually trump GPs. So if we say a person is fit for work, they can go back to work.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and so look, so thank you for that background, Gill. So I always like to find out why people went into business. So you sort of founded this business. I think I'm correct in saying in about 2010.
That's right, February 2010. Yeah,
February 2010. Great. Okay, so what made you decide to become a business owner?
Oh, well, this is my seventh business, I think.
Wow. Okay.
Seventh or eighth. I've lost track, rather. I've always had that. I'm very creative. I've always had that desire to make things. Now, whether that's make things as in craft or something, or make something better, or organising. I'm the world's best organiser. So that, I think, is just in my bloodstream. And whilst I did go to nursing college or School of Nursing back when dinosaurs walked the earth in the early 70s in London, I had to stop because of some family problems, and I took a sabbatical, and sadly I didn't go back. So I never actually qualified, which you could say was sad. On the other hand, I look at my life now and I think, oh, I've no regrets. But I've always had that love of medicine. But my path took me through the civil service, through direct sales, exposing me to a life that I had never known really existed. And we're talking early mid-70s now, when women, you had choices leaving school. You could be a typist, or you could be a teacher, or you could go and work a checkout somewhere. And that was about it. There was nothing, very little by entrepreneur, very few women entrepreneurs. In fact, I can't think of any. And I saw a gap in, because as I said, I'm a big crafter, and I saw a gap. This is the first business which really cut my teeth on. I saw a gap in the market for handicrafts. Now, the Tupperware model, the direct selling party plan model. Well, I saw this idea that I loved crafts, and I thought I want to get this out there. So I created a party plan craft company. What the same as Tupperware, we took orders to parties, and that gave me a taste of what it was like to run run a business from home, also while working full time somewhere else, ordering VAT, getting to grips with all of those things, managing suppliers, managing deliveries, and gave me a real taste of that, which I think stood me in good stead. And it was from that, I think, I thought, I can do this. You know, this is fun running a business. It was stressful, but it was fun. And then we move on a few years, and crafty parties had to go the way of all things before I owed anybody any money. But recessions, luxury goods, mid 80s died, sort of thing. And then I moved into office support. So I helped young companies set up businesses. So from my home, then I started a company that was what you would call today a virtual PA. There was no such thing then. I had the first fax machine. I had the first internet connection. I had the first, because I'm a gadget girl. So I set up this business where I would looking after other businesses and sole traders, you know, the plumber who needed to go out and fit taps, not worry about who's going to answer the phone or who's going to do his marketing or who's going to keep his books straight. So I did all of that for lawyers, estate agents, plumbers, carpenters, you name it. And that was fabulous. And I had to start employing people to help me do that, because I couldn't answer 5 phones at once and all of that. But my goodness, that gave me an insight into how other companies function. And that was such a good learning curve, not just running my own business, but dealing with other people's accounts, because I can do full bookkeeping up to trial balance, dealing with legislation and regulation, the things that they were exposed to, the lawyers, the estate agents. I mean, it was just crazy, but it was so interesting because I had.
But Jill, you've had a lot of experience. You know, you've moved from those sort of, let's call them, humble beginnings to the business that you've got now. I think I'm right in saying what you employ over 30 employees, do you? Or
I think we've got 33 today. I think I lose a bit of count, but yeah, we're up to 2.2 million today.
Wow. Okay. So what's the biggest learning that you've seen since you've been in business?
Oh, well, that will be hard to sum up, wouldn't it? Because I've learned so much. I think a couple of takeaways when people say to me, "Oh, I'm thinking of setting up. What should I do?" I say to them, I don't think you should tie yourself into having. You should have a goal, yes, but you should be prepared to flex. You have to be prepared to. You might be on a path, but if you see an opportunity come up that you hadn't expected, don't be so intransigent that you can't take that path and go and explore it. Don't let other people hold you back either, because people can be quite negative or look down their noses at you, and you have to hold your head up and say, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to try this. Won't do any harm, providing you're not doing any harm, of course. So learning, I think, is to maintain your creativity, and also to make sure that you capitalize on your own skills and you buy in those skills that you haven't got.
Like it, yeah, no, absolutely.
That is critical. Don't try and do it all.
Yeah, surround yourself by great people that are better than you.
Yeah, qualifications can be learned. Things can be learned. Personality, character, creativity, that can't be learned. That's inbuilt. So if you are the sort of person that, as I am, I'm very good at marketing, very good at sales. I'm very good at bookkeeping, but my husband said to me, you've got to get somebody in to do those books because you can't do it all. Yeah. This is early on. And he was absolutely right. I can buy bookkeepers in. and they can do just what I do, but they couldn't do what I'm doing because that my skill set is very much the ideas person and
Right.
the
Okay. Yeah.
let's have a go at that, you know.
Creating those, yeah, identifying those opportunities. Okay. And look, so the occupational health market. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I expect that it's growing because of, as you mentioned earlier, about the rising absenteeism and the cost of that, and the longer waiting times on the NHS and mental health and well-being generally in the workplace. So,
Yes.
what's your plans for your business going forward?
Well, we have made a very conscious decision that we don't want to lose our the family feel of our business.
Yeah.
I have watched too many people explode their businesses and go really, really big and lose it. And some of our competitors have done that. And we find now that we get clients coming to us and saying, well, I was with them, but then they got so big, I can't deal with them anymore. So can we come to you? Now, so we have made a conscious decision as a board to rein back and not get so big that we can't cope with it, and not get so big that our phones are always answered by human beings. We don't have any of this push button business. Our phones are answered within 3 rings. Now, our clients love that because we are dealing with people and health. Now, people don't want to be kept on the end. They don't want to talk to chat bots. They don't want to press button this and that and listen to answering machines telling you can go on the website. They know that. So it's what was the question? You see, I told you I can rabbit.
Okay. No, you've answered the question in terms of your business. You see, you want to keep that friendly feel to it. But I've got a lead on question from that, if that's okay, which is the companies that you've seen that have grown and it's negatively impacted them. Do you think that's because they got big, or do you think it's because they scaled up but didn't do it properly?
I don't know. It's because they got big. I think what happens to some of the bigger companies when they get big, it's and I saw this back in actually. I used to be nearly on the board. Didn't quite make it of a double glazing company back in the day, and we were suddenly bought out by some international company. Who poured money into us and said, we want you to open depots here, here, and here. Well, I had to be part of that. And I was running all over the country, opening depots, employing staff, getting the systems in. And, it all went pear-shaped. It was horrible. The company lost its niche. You were employing people you didn't know who they were really. You could interview them, yes. You could train them, yes. But then you'd leave them on their own running a depot. Well, there's all sorts of things going wrong in that. So I said I'd never do that again. And if we are ever going to build, as we did, I mean, I opened 2 clinics in London, but I got in people that already worked in the business. So we expanded from inside out rather than trying to push huge amounts of new staff into new systems. And I've always said,
and that's the point. That's the point that sort of stands out to me is exactly sort of what you sort of said there. It's not the problem isn't growing and getting bigger.
It's how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's how you do it and doing it right. And it sounds like that double glazing example that you shared with us. It wasn't done right and correctly, which caused the problem. Whereas when you opened up the clinics, etc., you'd learned from the experiences from the double glazing and gone, look, that's not how to do it.
Absolutely.
And then gone, well, okay, this is how to do it. And so what would you say that your biggest challenge in the business is right now, Gill?
Legislation is huge. We are, of course, we're a medical practice, so we already have what you would know about the General Medical Council, the Nursing and Midwifery the Council, all of the statutory memberships that our doctors and nurses have to have. Because we also work across a broad spectrum of different businesses, we're also required to meet certain standards in different businesses. For instance, construction require, and this it cascades down from the top, really. Some of the bigger occupational health companies create some sort of accreditation and then impose that on the rest of us, because otherwise, if we won't get any work, if we haven't got that accreditation, we could spend thousands and thousands of pounds every year just filling in boxes, getting accreditations. Now, that isn't productive. All that does is give us accreditations. One accreditation, one business sector might want, another business sector doesn't. They want something different. We don't touch the rail industry, because to touch the rail for the trackside, you need a certain accreditation. Well, we've already got CQC. We've already got others. We're going for CQOSH at the moment, which is another story. But to go for rail when that's only a very small part of our market just isn't economically viable. So we don't have any rail clients.
Okay. So you focus on your niche clients, your target market, and you say, right, that's where our business is. There's enough business in the other sectors. We don't need to focus on those ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing, I think, about All Health Matters is that back in 2012, I went to do some work for one of the big oil companies in London. Under one of my other hats I had at the time. I was in occupational health, but it wasn't my company. I was working for another one, and I went to do some practical, because I actually went to university when I was 50 to do a qualification so I could practice. Anyway, so I went to an oil company in London. They're on the FTSE and on the New York Stock Exchange. This is big, and I did some work for them through this other company, and they said to me, can we work with you direct? Well, I was just starting All Health Matters. Now, they awarded me a contract for £110,000 that year. Now, I was a single person buying in medical help, buying in doctors, buying in nurses. And that jump started me into the world that we're currently in. Now, that was a stroke of luck, because they are still with us today, all these years on, and they still stay with us. They're very loyal. Now, their requirements for us are that we are fast, that we are accurate, that we are personal, that we treat their staff with great respect. We react to the changing markets, because, the oil market has gone up and down over these years. We've watched the price of crude has an effect on our business, believe it or not. But we have flexed with them from a 5-day week contract. We dropped down to a 1-day week contract and climbed back to a 2-day week contract, that sort of thing. That we can do because we are small enough to do it.
Okay.
If we were part of a massive organisation, that would be quite difficult to do.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, we've got a timber company in Canterbury with about 10 people who have us in every year to do the health surveillance and just ring us if they need us for sickness absence.
Yeah.
So the diverse range of the way that we react and the way that we have to tackle these problems of legislation. I think when you ask me what is the most difficult thing, I think it's weighing up what sort of areas we want to be in and how much money we can afford to invest in order to win that business, and to make that calculation. If it's not going to be economic, don't go for it.
That makes absolute sense, and thank you for sharing that with some great examples as well in terms of identify your target market.
I'll tell you something. We don't touch public services, and because their procurement is so arduous and often it's not fit for purpose, because they treat us as though we're going to dig holes in roads or something. And they want top class, first class work, and they want second class money for it. They don't want to pay for it. So we don't touch any public services. We don't have police or fire or councils or any of those. Not worth it.
And Gill, there's one question that I like to ask everyone that's kind enough to join me on this discussion, and that's, what's the best advice that you would give to an 18-year-old you?
I would say go and get a few life skills.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that you can just jump into owning a business and think, oh, that's going to be a doddle. I can have as much time off as I want, because owning a business, starting a business is not easy. You have to be prepared to put in the hours. You have to be prepared to take the knocks, to take the negative feel from people, to also finance. Don't be undercapitalized. Don't try and start a business with no money. Don't try and do it all off a credit card, because all you do is to breed debt. Debt breeds debt. And All Health Matters, we have never borrowed a penny for our company. It's always been reinvested, profits reinvested. And in the early years, my husband and I really drew nothing out of this business at all. It was a case of struggling, doing other things just to try and earn the money. You have to keep on pouring it in. So if you're 18, go and get some life skills, go and work for other people, and network with entrepreneurs who'll tell you very much the same, I think.
Right, look, some great advice there. So, look, Gill, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today and sharing more about your business, but more importantly, your journey as well. So, thank you very much, Gill.
You're very welcome.